Everyone thought Leon Carte was a dead man walking, because his god domain had been stripped to almost nothing. But they didn't know he was about to break the entire system. The school was in chaos as two elite homeroom teachers fought over Leon Carte. They offered high prices, but Leon Carte wasn't looking for money. He was looking for the right path for his core race. Leon Carte looked at the second teacher and asked for his name. The answer was Mr. Smith. Without a second thought, Leon Carte joined his class. The shockwaves didn't stop there. Clara Shaw followed him immediately. Then Albert stepped up and joined too. The other teachers were turning green with envy. 3 of the top 10 students had just piled into Mr. Smith's class. His class performance was about to skyrocket to the heavens. Mr. Lewis stood in the corner, his face twisted in rage. He had just lost his 3 best students in a single minute. He was left with the trash, while Mr. Smith took the gold. Mr. Smith didn't waste time and pulled out 3 high-quality cards. They were welcoming gifts for his new elite students. Clara Shaw didn't even look at hers. She was too rich to care. Albert was pleasantly surprised. But Leon Carte felt a tidal wave of shock hit his heart. The card in his hand was the insect nest. It was a Tier 2 building card that covered an entire square kilometer. The card had a hidden, devastating effect. It could perfectly channel the power of any relic embedded into it. This was the missing piece Leon Carte needed for his swarm. Leon Carte could now slot his heart of explosion and magma fire crystal into the nest. Every single egg hatched would now inherit that destructive power. He wouldn't just have insects. He would have a factory for magma bomb locusts. The growth speed would be 1,000 times faster than his previous methods. Leon Carte thanked his new teacher, but Mr. Smith told him to save it. Results were the only thing that mattered in this world. Naomi Shu watched from the sidelines, satisfied that Leon Carte had found a real home. But the peace didn't last long. Naomi Shu announced that the unified examination was starting in 7 days. This was the real bloodbath that decided resource distribution for the entire year. The homeroom teachers grew solemn. This was a war for survival. Leon Carte returned to his god domain capsule immediately after school. His domain was a wasteland after the previous battles. He scanned the land, and the numbers were pathetic. He had 2 million locusts, 5,000 living bomb locusts, and 300 magma bomb locusts. He had 52 red furnace dwarves in his hero, Iron Cut Gale. To anyone else, this was a joke. If he entered the exam like this, he would be at the bottom of the rankings. He needed to mass-produce soldiers, and he needed to do it now. But as he scanned his domain, something caught his eye in the mountains. His ordinary dwarfs were gone. In their place were creatures with crimson skin and veins glowing like flowing lava. These were the red furnace dwarves. They had evolved from ordinary dwarfs through the sheer despair of a bloody battle. They were now an elite race with terrifying talents. They had forge and flame blood, giving them insane resistance to heat and a natural talent for crafting. Their faith was at the level of true believers, generating 20,000 faith points a day. Leon Carte was stunned. He had accidentally created a race that could leave his peers in the dust, but he couldn't get distracted. They weren't his core race. He gave them a quick command to keep forging and multiplying before diving into his main plan. For the next 4 days, Leon Carte was a ghost. He went to school by day and mass-produced his swarm by night. He burned through growth acceleration like a madman. By the 4th day, the swarm had recovered to its peak. The total number of locusts hit 733 billion. The god domain was at its absolute limit. It couldn't hold a single insect more. Leon Carte didn't hesitate. He raised his hand and triggered life sacrifice. 7.2 billion locusts were instantly vaporized into a massive formation in the sky. 3 options appeared before his eyes, each more tempting than the last. Option 1. Gluttony Law, a Tier 2 broken relic. Option 2. A hero template to create another super unit. Option 3. 1 point of divinity. Divinity was worth 100 million faith points. Choosing it would make him an overnight billionaire. The hero template would make Iron Cut Gale look like a child. But Leon Carte chose the Gluttony Law. This relic allowed a core race to evolve by consuming 1,000 times their own energy. It was the key to turning his entire swarm into elite life forms. He knew he couldn't afford to feed billions of them yet, so he slotted the gluttony law into the insect nest. Now, he would produce 1 million specialized gluttony insects every year. 3 days passed in a flash. The exam was looming. Leon Carte entered his domain and saw a new species standing among the swarm. They were 1 meter long and pulsed with raw power. He named them bursting magma locusts. They were transcendent life forms. The morning of the exam arrived with a blazing sun. Leon Carte sat in his new classroom, ready for war. Clara Shaw walked up to him, her eyes cold and demanding. She asked him if he was ready to become her slave yet. Leon Carte was speechless at her obsession. He told her he was strong enough to protect himself. Clara Shaw sneered, calling him naive. She told him he had no background, no resources, and no future with just insects. She claimed his locusts were too weak to survive the upcoming slaughter. Leon Carte ignored her and entered his capsule. He would let the results do the talking. Albert watched from across the room, his heart burning with jealousy. He vowed to erase Leon Carte from Clara Shaw's sight forever. But then Mr. Smith's projection appeared in the room. The stakes were higher than anyone imagined. The teacher promised relics, land, core fragments, and entire legions to the winners. The 62 students in the class were breathing heavily with excitement. Mr. Smith dropped the rules of the exam. Phase 1 was the elimination stage. If you failed, you were expelled from the school immediately. There was no mercy for the weak. If you survived, you could choose to quit or move to Phase 2, the ranking stage. This was an infinite challenge mode where invaders would attack in waves. The higher you climbed, the better the rewards. The top 100 got land. The top 50 got relics. The top 3 got a core upgrade. And the number 1 spot, the reward was a full point of divinity. Leon Carte's heart hammered against his ribs. He didn't just want to pass. He wanted everything. The countdown began. Leon Carte's consciousness was pulled into the void. 700 students were floating like stars around a massive golden wheel. The voices of the teachers and Naomi Shu echoed through the space. A mechanical voice announced the start of the first round. Students were trembling, knowing their futures were on the line. 3, 2, 1, 0. Leon Carte was slammed back into his god domain. The sky turned black as a massive one-way teleportation gate tore open at the edge of his territory. A foul, ominous energy poured out of the gate. Leon Carte summoned his billions of insects and his red furnace dwarfs. The ground began to shake. Something was coming through the gate. A thunderous sound of thousands of feet echoed across the wasteland. The first wave of invaders had arrived. Leon Carte watched as the first monster stepped onto his land. He had seconds to decide his strategy. Would his new transcendent locusts be enough? Or was he about to lose everything?